youth, and leaders, and the collective responsibility they bear to resuscitate the Ghana cultural heritage, history, language, and values through education, economic growth, and progress for the greater good of Ghana as a whole. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our chairman for this occasion is no other person, Churu II, the Ghana Bancher and the president of the Ghana Traditional Council.
Ago chabaganyame nimekaname akago apiasma ishibami fonguam.
Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency Professor Jane Nana Opoku Ajiman, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Honorable Ministers, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Kujato Ablapa, Your Excellencies, Heads of Mission, Your Excellencies, Heads of Ghanaian Mission, Acting Chief Director, Directors, staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Nime, Name, Nananam, distinguished opening ceremony. It's a personal privilege and also a celebration of the partnership between the Ghana Traditional Authority and the institutions of government. Your appointment places into your custody Ghana's global brand of integrity, brand of dignity, aspiration, history, that you have arrived at this point in your careers and have earned this place in diplomatic history. So your mission abroad is primarily to build bridges and elevate Ghana by engaging with Ghanaian diaspora and local communities in line with the government's transformation agenda. And this crucial and evolved into a strategic engine of opportunities. For this reason, your conduct must be a reflection of Ghana's values of integrity, respect, hospitality, and discipline, blending with strategic insights with heartfelt national pride. Additionally, you must prioritize trade, business, investments, and development through strategic partnerships that are equitable and sustainable. In all you do, food products, clothing, and tourism, positioning Ghana as a trusted partner in global commerce. The diaspora is rife with skill, with talents, and expertise. We will ask you to take advantage of those characteristics and harness them for our national development. To this end, I welcome the Ministry of Foreign Affairs' shift from the ceremonial diplomacy that we know to a result-driven global approach of competing interests and delicate balances. Be sensitive to the culture of your host nations without compromising on our Ghanaian values. Educate yourself about the socio-political nuance of their people, but act with the courage and empathy underpinned by intelligence. This conference is not routine. It's not at all. It is a reaffirmation of Ghana's place globally. The theme harnessing the dividends of diplomacy for Ghana's reset agenda is a call to action. Say a call to action. I commend His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, for convening this meeting to lay the bricks on the foundation for a more professional and resultative foreign service. A summary of a few things I want you to know: that we have to intensify and further diversify our sanitary and phytosanitary or other artificial barriers to our trade. In this area, we must boost the volume of our. Let us fully implement visa regimes that will make Africa a more common home for all Africans. Insist on reciprocal agreements, arrangements, particularly in the areas of immigration requirements, timelines, fees, and charges of embassies in processing of visas. Reciprocity is a cardinal principle in diplomatic relations. We must adopt a more efficient and sustainable systems. Furthermore, encourage the ministry to give a greater focus to cultural diplomacy, cultural exchanges, to increase tourist arrivals in the country for huge benefits. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us not sweep our challenges under the carpet. We must confront them boldly, because only then can Ghana's diplomacy deliver lasting benefits for our people. I bless your journey. You will not fail. Wombi jomo ken hanyek bene ni fane ni wombi ni adronye na man say if a jomo wulu ken Ghana mamu fe Roma fane wune tekeno ne she Ghana mamu fe no ye hia wojugba ni bia ne won twunye akebofo ye ken ya din fe nyakple aje nyekpe akekane ken Ghana ni nyeke woshade papa ba hawo ni ma ko mama papa nebu. God bless you all. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
Ladies and gentlemen, please let's put our hands together. His Royal Majesty King Takite Kochu II, the Gamanche. Thank you very much. And indeed, this conference is not routine. His anointing was measured. I was just a bit scared when you started. Thank you so much. Thank you indeed. And as we are witnessing a shift from ceremonial diplomacy into an economic focused one, that's the main reason why this gathering is extremely important as we start that journey right from now. And we'll have the opening remarks of the acting chief director of the finance of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ambassador Khadija Idrisu. Please, let's put our hands together for Ambassador Khadija Idrisu.
A little bit under the weather. I hope you forgive me. I was asking myself this morning, why this day when we are receiving His Excellency the President? But please forgive me. Okay. Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, His Royal Majesty, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, yes, it's better, thank you. The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Okujato Ablakwa, MP, Honorable Ministers and Members of Parliament, Senior Government Officials, the CDS, Chief of Defense Staff, members of the Ministerial Advisory Board, members of the Governing Council of the Foreign Service Institute, members of the Council on Foreign Relations, ambassadors, high commissioners, and newly appointed envoys, directors and staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, distinguished invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, it is my distinct honor and privilege to respectfully and warmly welcome His Excellency, the President of the Republic, and all our distinguished guests to the opening ceremony of the Conference of Heads of Mission and Orientation Program for our newly appointed envoys, being held under the theme, Harnessing the Dividends of Diplomacy for Ghana's Reset Agenda. We are deeply honored by the presence of His Excellency, the President, who, as the chief diplomat and the architect of Ghana's foreign policy, has set the foreign policy direction for the country, taking due cognizance of his domestic policies. As we are all well aware, the foreign policy of a country mirrors its domestic policy, Hence, the theme for the conference was carefully chosen to highlight the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the country's reset agenda. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which is Ghana's gateway to the world, has positioned itself to engage with our bilateral and multilateral partners towards the realization of the government's priority programs and of the government. In this regard, the ministry has carefully selected its resource persons who focus on key areas of national interest. The program will also provide a strategic platform for aligning the work of Ghana's missions with Ghana's foreign and domestic policy priorities, as well as promote coordination between the missions, the ministry, and government institutions. The topic for the program was the topics were strategically selected to hone the skills of our envoys to facilitate their diplomatic engagements. It is worth mentioning that the combined program for the 7 and new envoys will offer the opportunity for them to build synergies through their interactions and performance indicators, KPIs. Your Excellency, the President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are profoundly grateful to the Government Chair, His Royal Majesty King Takite Eko II, for gracing this occasion as the chairman. Your presence, sir, is a reminder of our deep cultural roots and heritage that underpin our national dignity, connecting our modern diplomatic endeavors to the rich, enduring traditions and cultures of our land, which we, as diplomats, sum up as promoting cultural diplomacy. Sir, Your Royal Majesty, you have already given us, you've set the tone for us as to what you expect of our envoys, and we shall take it very seriously. Thank you. To the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, whose strategic guidance is reshaping our diplomatic engagements, we extend our gratitude for your leadership in making this gathering possible. Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to assure you that the ministry, under the able leadership of the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Samuel Okujato Ablakwa, MP, is positioned to deliver on the reset agenda. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Khadija Idris. Please, let's put our hands together once again. Thank you so much. And definitely, this round of applause will give you your healing that you need for the morning. And thank you. Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, His Royal Majesty, shortly we will be hearing from the Foreign Affairs Minister at whose invitation we're here this morning. But before that, his path will be laced with some scintillating music by the choir, the resident choir of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Envoys. Let's put our hands together for the Envoys. Led by Emmanuel P.K. Thank you.
provide national security. And probably the only appointment where it is not only the Ghanaian national security that conducts background check. The country you are headed to will also have to satisfy themselves before an agreement is issued. And I can confirm this morning that President Mahamad's choices have been excellent, because so far we have received 100% confirmation. All the agreements that have come in so far, there has been no rejection. We have to commend His Excellency for the choice. So I'll be doing a brief part of the large screen that the ministry has secured. And before I come to the presentation, very excellent voices, and that he enjoyed the rendition. And you saw the government chair speaking to me. He says, I didn't know that you have choristers here in the Foreign Service. And I said, Your Royal Majesty, we have diplomats of multiple talents. Civil Service of Ghana, and I'm glad the head of Civil Service is here, Dr. Agredako. The Foreign Affairs Ministry emerged the most decorated. We won virtually all the trophies. Arm wrestling, table tennis, long tennis. We were the victorious ministry. So not only to deliver the diplomatic dividend, but anywhere you ask us to represent Ghana, we are ready. Another round of applause for our Foreign Service. So now to my of diplomacy for the back of resetting Ghana. And the president has told us that reset must permeate every department, every sector of public service, all the way to our individual lives. So over the next 5 days, all our resource persons, beginning from Dr. Ishmael Yamson, who will be speaking after me, they will be focusing on how, after almost 7 decades of nationhood, how do we recalibrate, how do we reconfigure our ways so that we can reset and meet the high standards of the president and the expectations of the Ghanaian people. Now, as envoys, you will be representing His Excellency John Dramani Mahama abroad. There have been some recent reflect on, and it has to guide us on the work we are going to pursue abroad. As you do know, the president just returned from Singapore, and after his engagements with his counterpart, the president of Singapore, in that bilateral meeting, which posted on his social media handles, the president wrote, Ghana's President John Mahama is a man on a mission. He is determined to meet him today on his state visit. In Japan, before going to Singapore, President Mahama was in Japan attending TICAD 9. Baby Amemro, their country. And this is what he also said, nations. So when you are going to represent a president with this extraordinary endorsement by global leaders, you know you can only be your best and put your best foot forward at all times. It is worth reminding all of us that President Mahama is currently the AU champion for reparations. His mandate has been extended this year in Malabo. The whole reparations agenda is now a 10-year agenda, which Ghana has been asked to lead, thanks to the sterling performance of President Mahama. He is also the AU champion for gender. He is the AU champion for African financial institutions. There are very few African leaders that the AU has reposed so much confidence in. And you do know that he's currently the second vice chairperson of the AU. 2027, he will be the chairman of the African Union. We currently have 75 diplomatic missions as a country. So we are growing from an initial start of under 10 under the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. We are now at 75. We have 13 high commissions, 40. President Mahama has instructed that we establish new consulates. And you may have heard that one of the key outcomes from consulate in Singapore, we are also opening one in Dublin, in Ireland, and an additional one in Massachusetts. Ghanaians in the US have been crying that New York and Washington cannot continue to represent the 50-state country. And so President Mahama granted us approval only 2 weeks ago for an additional consulate to be opened in Massachusetts. And then we are going to have a new consulate in Lisbon, Portugal. You do know that Air Portugal has a direct flight here. We have growing commerce. And when our PPMEB, that's Policy Planning, Evaluation and Monitoring Bureau of our ministry, so we are grateful to President Mahama. President Mahama loves this ministry so much that so far I have not made a request he has rejected. And the ratio of ambassadors, I know that my colleagues here are always particular about that. They kept reminding me, Honorable Minister, please keep an eye on the ratio. Don't allow your colleagues in the political class to take all the ambassadorial positions. I am even before I raise the matter. So we are currently doing 45-55 in favor of non-career ambassadors. And that is very impressive. That is very, very impressive. So 34 non-career ambassadors, 28 career ambassadors. And I asked for a historical analysis to be done. And when you put it in perspective, you see that President Mahama has done very well. Between 1992 and 2000, from our PPMEB and the direct admin, the analysis they have done, we were doing 60-40 in favor of non-career. That must have been under President Rawlings. Then under President Kufuor, we're doing 64-36 in favor of non-career. And then under President Mills, it was 58-42 in favor of non-career. And then under President Akufo-Addo, 52-48%. So you see that President Mahama's 55-45, it's amongst one of the best. President Mahama, President Akufo-Addo have done quite well, making sure that our career diplomats, because that's the dream of all of you, I know. You want to be ambassadors one day. Many of you want to be called Ambassador Techi Mensin or Ambassador Adam or Ambassador Khadija, you know. They are your role models, and you always want to be like them, like Ambassador Intrakwa. So I know, and we are keeping an eye on that. And President Mahama has even told me that along the line, we'll see as we are expanding and opening new consulates and embassies. And let me put this in context so that your applause will be louder. President Mahama has appointed the leanest government in history, in our recent history, the leanest. And yet, he has the most overwhelming mandate, a 2/3 parliamentary majority. So you can imagine the pressure on him. You know, others had a lot of appointments they were making at the ministerial level. And so they could have afforded, you know, to allow, you know, our diplomats to occupy the ambassadorial positions. And yet, despite the constraint, only 60 ministers, he has still managed to keep within very impressive levels of 55-45. So another round of applause. When you put this in context, you see that President Mahama has done very, very well. And I hope that Chairman of the NDC, Honorable Asiedu Nketia, will allow this to continue. We currently do see the Vice President will be really Foreign Ministry. So at the Foreign Ministry, if you want to talk about gender equality, it's not what you know about. The men are rather endangered, you know. So, so I want to come to some of the reset agenda that the President instructed us to pursue. I inherited a passport backlog of about 70,000 uncollected because we were still stuck to the old way of doing things. You have to apply manually and you have to go back to the passport office for your passport. We've decided to totally overhaul the system. We've rolled out chip embedded passports. The process began since the era of the Honorable Hanatete, but we came to operationalize it and to roll it out. But we didn't only roll out the new ICAO standard chip embedded passport. We have introduced 24-hour operations at the passport office. We've introduced, have to be stressing going back to the passport office for, and since 28 April this year when we launched the program, we have successfully distributed 110,828 passports to all those who have applied through courier. So they don't have to stress. And what is also impressive about this is that we've totally eliminated the middlemen. We no longer have the infamous Goro boys who were extorted. And you've seen some of the testimonies. We've highlighted some of the testimonies from, you take somebody like Prosper Donko, who posted on his Facebook page that when we say everything rises and falls on leadership, this is what we mean. So on Monday, June 30, 2025, I applied for my passport renewal. I received a notification for the delivery of my passport by 21st July 2025. I said in my head, I know when to expect it, 21st August. Then late this afternoon, I received a call. Kindly confirm your location for the delivery of your passport. It's ready. I nearly shouted, "You scammer, get off my line." But something also tells me, you relax, since he's not asking you to reset your Momo PIN. So I relaxed. In about 30 minutes, I received another call. Hello, at the comfort of my home, not in 21 days, but in 3 days after my application. I started shouting, passers-by will think there was something wrong with me. Ghana can work, Ghana is rising. Thank you, Honorable Ablakwa. Thank you, President John Dramani Mahama. Thank you for restoring dignity into leadership in Ghana's politics. Lest I forget, the dignity with which I was even served at the passport office in Ho for the first time. He goes on and on. You can tell he's so excited. John Bosco also had a testimony. Jojo Chate Kwanzaa because of time. But I'm sure you've been seeing a lot of this. There's feedback we are also receiving after the reforms we did in Washington. Nana Kofi Bafo is a very respected travel and tour operator in Ghana. He recently wrote that his experience, he wants to commend the president and colleagues at the ministry for the work we have done. We won't have time for that video. The other reform that we have carried out is strike. And here we have to really commend President Mahama. He has been very, very resolute that we need to implement STRIDE. STRIDE is a strategic transition from renting to infrastructure development. It's quite embarrassing that as a foreign ministry, we don't own a lot of the properties we operate in across the world. We don't own the chanceries, the residences. There are many countries you go to and we don't own a single property. We spend $50 million every year on rental. That is money that we can use to construct and own our own buildings. And the sad part is that there are 23 countries that the host governments have donated land to us freely. Recently, when we went for the AU meeting in Malabo, the ambassador appealed to President Mahama that look at prime land we have been given in between the Indian and American embassy. The Equatorial Guineans want to take it back if we don't develop it. Because since 2010, they made a donation to us. Fortunately, I can confirm to you that President Mahama has granted us executive approval. We now have cabinet approval, and we are going to implement STRIDE. A transaction advisor has been appointed by the finance minister, and the finance ministry is looking at the funding arrangements, and there's full support for us to transition from rental to owning our own properties across the world so we can restore dignity. The other reforms we've carried out on the president's instruction, you know, the president at his investiture said Ghana is open for business again. So now the new policy, you've all received the circular, no visa processing should go beyond 5 days. A decision must be made. If you are issuing, issue within 5 days. If you are not, reject within 5 days. A decision must be made so that we can be modernized. Then I know this will excite our government chair. It's as though the government chair really has been in our management meetings. So we have been worried that for about 2 decades now, some way, somehow, I've been asking how did it happen? But this ministry no longer has a bureau for culture, for linguistics and tourism. I'm delighted to announce to you today, Government Chair, I know you are delighted to hear this news. We have now established a new bureau for culture, linguistics, and tourism. We've brought it back. And beyond culture and tourism, what linguistics will do is that it will also help us to build capacity, multilingual capacity. That is why we are losing out in a lot of international appointments. And recently in Japan, it was quite a struggle. There was only one interpreter. And once that interpreter is with the president, the rest of us had to manage somehow. It wasn't easy. You should see us do a lot of sign language in the process. But the new bureau, Culture, Linguistics, and Tourism Bureau, unfortunately, some countries have already approached us since we established the bureau, support us with advantage of that so that we don't have to resort to sign language when the president is on a state visit. Then on the president's firm instruction, we've also reclaimed our ministry's land. Now all the land around this ministry is back into the ownership of the foreign ministry. We've also stopped the illegal sales of our properties in Nigeria, in Zambia. There was an arrest of the Nigerian suspect, who is Ghanaian. I should be careful so I don't create a diplomatic row. He's Ghanaian who was engaged in an illegal activity in Nigeria. Then we've also made it clear that none of our ministry's properties are up for sale. We've lost quite a number of properties in London, in Australia. We have a new policy that no sale of state assets. You know my position. I'm glad the Honorable Ranking Member is here. Sometimes he nicknames me Minister State Capture. So you can be assured that there will be no state capture at the Foreign Ministry. And then we've also, to strengthen that, we've established an asset register. You all received the circular, and that has been compiled. So now we know what we own everywhere in the world. There's a very sad story. We didn't know about 2 properties we own, very prime properties in Australia. And some officer managed to steal the documents, then quickly retired, resigned from the service, stayed in Australia, and just took over those 2 properties. We've lost it. We've tried all kinds of bilateral arrangements. It doesn't look good. The same situation in the UK. So now we have the challenge, we are told, is poor record keeping. Now we've created a student's desk. Then we've also addressed this issue of vehicle leases. The president was very appalled and instructed that if we would engage in a lease, it should be lease to own, not leases that really does not protect the public purse. On my first meeting with staff here, the junior staff made a passionate appeal that you need staff buses. I'm delighted to inform you that the buses, we've gone through the procurement process and the buses have been ordered. In the next few weeks, you are going to have your buses. We fully operationalized the Foreign Service Institute for the work that you are doing. This is another area that we have been very, very successful, and we've received tremendous support from President Mahama. The Candidatures Bureau has done a great job. Virtually all the candidates we have put forward for international positions have development at the AU. Honorable Kwame Adam Senanu also was successfully re-elected, and he's on the AU Advisory Board against corruption. Commission member on the International Law Council, Dr. Odro Osai, was also successfully elected with our full backing and support. On the United Nations Committee of Experts on Public Administration, Dr. Delise Memedako also won her election as the first Director General of the African Medicines Agency. And that was a very fierce contest with another distinguished pharmacist from Morocco. We also won statutory seats competition we engaged in on the UN Commission for Population and Development for the term 2026 to 2030. We also won the UN Commission on Narcotic Drugs from 2026 to 2029. We have the distinguished Mr. Akresi Sapon, who is going to be representing us. So we have a number of upcoming bids. We are quite confident. Ambassador Francis Tikotia, who is serving in The Hague, is running for Director General, Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. OP Asante has received our full backing, the President's support for UNHRC Advisory Committee, also slated for later this month. Justice for October 2025. Then we have a re-election and quite a number of them. So we really have been very active. The President has charged us that we need to increase our presence. Was UN, I mean, much smaller countries way ahead of us. And we are being very bullish and rigorous about it. And I'm glad that we are seeing successes in that area. We've had quite a good number of bilateral negotiations. Is the visa waiver agreement with Morocco. You no longer require visas you don't have to also go for visa interviews. You just do it online, and it's working so well. The last time we checked, more than 2,000 Ghanaians since we signed this have visited Morocco, and the feedback is very good from the visa waiver process. We've done same with Colombia. You don't need visas to go to Colombia once you have a Ghanaian passport. Same for the Dominican Republic, all categories of passports, diplomatic service, ordinary passports. Sao Tome and Principe, same with Angola as well, which is before cabinet. And I can confirm to you that all of this have gone through the processes under Article 75, cabinet approved. We've also finally ratified the host agreement for AGRA, and we recently also made history. We've joined the elite category of countries against the prohibition of nuclear weapons. That has been ratified, and Ghana, the world, that it doesn't pay to have nuclear weapons. We really have to disarm and dismantle. We have ongoing labor mobility agreements. We are working with the Ministry of Health on this, and discussions are going on with Jamaica, Germany, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Qatar, UAE, Serbia, and Bulgaria. We have done well. We've trained a good number of nurses, and some of them are at home waiting for financial clearance. What is the point in keeping them at home when other countries need them? We've trained them already. We have met the UN ratio. They are at home. There is no point. And unemployment, as you know, in Ghana is at 18.7%. President Mahama says that we should, so that they can be able to fit into the international market. And that is going very, very well so far as this is concerned. Then who can really challenge us that Ghana's international image is soaring and it's at an all-time high? Ghana has become the envy. I go into meetings and foreign ministers are asking me, how are you people doing it? What's happening? Everybody wants to come to Ghana. Everybody is inviting your president. And I say it's the grace of God. And we thank the Almighty. But it also shows that we are doing a lot right in our country and in a big one. The international community was really, has been on a state visit. The first president in the history of our country to be invited on a state visit to Singapore. He deserves a round of applause. Deserves a round of applause for that. The good news is that there's no end in sight. The German president has confirmed he's on his way to Ghana. He wants to pay a state visit. The Canadian Prime Minister has also confirmed he wants to be here. And then they don't also want to keep President Mahama here with us. President Xi has also invited him on a state visit to China. The royal family has also invited him in Qatar. So the president has a very, very busy schedule. And all of this is to buttress the point that we are doing very well. We have a soaring international image and represent Ghana very well. Now, the famous delivery unit. So we decided that ASPAC be left out. So we decided to appoint a distinguished ambassador, Ambassador Alexander Grant in Trakwa, from retirement. And here again, we have to thank President Mahama. He had just put out a directive that no ministry should engage a retiree, and that we should allow the young ones to also grow. I had to go appeal to him, make a special case that this is an assignment that requires a very senior person. You are going to be like the IGP, be monitoring, making sure that we are all performing, we are abiding by our KPIs. So you can't use, a junior diplomat for that. And you need somebody who's retired, who's seen it all, and who can do it. And President Mahama did not hesitate at all. He made an exception only for the Ministry of. So the delivery unit has been working in earnest, and they have been responsible for putting together the KPIs President Mahama will be launching. And I am so honored and humbled to say that this is with KPIs. We are going to work with a measurable performance framework. And it shows our willingness to support the President's reset agenda and to set very high standards, which we are known for, by the way. And it's always good to push yourselves to more higher standards. So economic diplomacy is at the center, responsive consular services, and institutionalized accountability. Those have been the guiding principles. And you see when the KPIs are launched and presented to you that they are very, very smart, they are specific, they are measurable, they are attainable, they are realistic, and they are time-bound. Now, these are some of the selected KPIs that we'll be working with. And once again, the government chair will be delighted to see this, because in his very well-written address and well-delivered address, he talked about how we must improve trade volumes. Government chair, I'm very happy to inform you that every mission, we have country-specific KPIs. And the minimum threshold we have set is that everybody must increase trade volumes by 10% annually. That's the minimum. The minimum. If going to India, God help you, yours is 25%. Because unfortunately for you, President Mahama and Prime Minister Modi, during Prime Minister Modi's state visit, agreed that in their tenure, the next 4 years, they want to double the trade volumes. And the only way it can be doubled is for us to do 25% every year. So you have the minimum of 10%, and some of the other selected KPIs, we are going to make sure that we keep an eye on economic diplomacy, creating market opportunities for Ghanaian businesses made in Ghana. You have to focus on that. It shouldn't always be about people coming to exploit our natural resources. We also want to enter the analysis. They've been moribund for years. You will be required to revive all of them within 6 months. And what is impressive about these KPIs is that you have a period for attaining them. Some are 6 months, some are 1 year. So when the president receives the report from Ambassador Trakra's delivery unit, and he wants to take a decision whether you are keeping your job or not, it's very easy for what you must achieve in 2 years. So as for that one, you can't blame the minister. It's not me. It's not about whether I like you or not. It's, we're talking about driving a minimum 10% annual increase in tourist arrivals as well. And I know Honorable Jifa Gomashi will be very happy to hear about that. So minimum 10%, some have up to 15%, looking at the historical performance. So if you look at the general philosophy underpinning these KPIs, it's about a relentless pursuit of performance, of excellence within what you call Afro-pragmatism, what Nkrumah aptly described as friends of all, enemies to none. So we want to build resilience in this increasingly transactional and insular world. We are also going to make sure we pursue a new development paradigm of resource control and integrated value addition. If you have been listening to President Mahama carefully, he wants us to take control of our resources. For many decades, we've been allowing others to come take all our gold away. What are we getting from it? So the leases that are coming up, you notice that President Mahama is renegotiating And he's playing hardball in Ghana's interest. That's how it should be. So no longer soft balls in that era. Then we are going to leverage the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We host the Secretariat, our trade and leveraging the Extensive Foreign Policy, which was another manifesto pledge that President Mahama made. And I want to thank the committee. I see Ambassador Spio Gabriel, Ambassador Ken Kanda, and all of these our distinguished ambassadors who are helping us to put that together. And it's really interesting. So President Mahama goes to Japan for only 2 days. 2 days. He revived the Volivo Dofwadidome Bridge, which he calls the Yokohama Bridge. He secured funding for the Kumasi Inner City Ringway Project, and their West Africa hub. He got a groundbreaking space agreement signed, and then he made a strong pitch for us to benefit under Japan's 300,000 youth in AI training program. Special cooperation anchored on the latest scientific research boost for rice production. He secured $100 million for new agricultural projects, and the team has already arrived. They've already started that project. Then he's made a strong case. Japan announced that they want to invest one project to them, which has received approval. This is just 2 days in Japan. This is what President Mahama achieved. There's even more. Then he moves to Singapore. And in just 2 days in Singapore, because the state visit was 26 to 28, in just 2 days, this is an international conglomerate. They are going to invest $200 million. They are going to open President Mahama to be their special guest. They say it will create 4,000 jobs. So $200 million from Olam. Then Shangri-La, the global hotel chain, they have agreed to come invest $300 million. I was in that meeting. It was over dinner when instead of President Mahama enjoying his meal, he made a strong case for our ministry that he pities us the way the AICC is looking these days. Very unbefitting of our status. There are structural integrity reports saying that we need to prepare to really decommission. So he said that, look, we need to become the conference destination for West Africa. And he wants investors to support him to achieve that. After he made the pitch as our chief marketing agent, Shangri-La had no choice. They were so impressed. They pledged $300 million. And they have already signed a letter of intent with us. They want to go see the site. It will be at the old Shangri-La Hotel. And fortunately, it's also linked to the Accra Mall. So they are excited about the location. And just 2 days, he secured that in 2 days. New Kotoka International Airport enhanced security and scanners project. He secured that. And you know we've been having issues obsolete. The criminals have, as usual, they always find a way around it. And President Mahama says we are going to get ahead of them. They've already, and then the revival of the Tema Dry Dock. They are coming to construct a new jetty for our oil ships, establish testing labs. President Mahama, like all of us, is worried about the quality of our roads. He found out on the state visit that the Singaporeans, before you use materials to construct your roads, you go to a lab for the materials to be tested, for us to be sure that, and he says that he's going to establish these labs. And before any road construction, before the big push is launched, those labs must be ready and running. Chemistry, you don't have much really, have jobs to do working here because of shoddy materials, substandard materials. Point number 7 is going to deal with that. President Mahama secured that. He also secured a collaboration with the central banks of Ghana and Singapore to have a payment platform which is going to revolutionize commerce. Agreement was signed with the Singapore, and we outlined a number of projects that we are going to roll out. So my next slide details a lot more of what was achieved in Singapore, including 18 chief directors, following from the president's strong pitch. He wants us to collaborate, to have, because you know their standards are high, efficient, their delivery, their work ethic. And President Mahama secured immediately a partnership that will allow 18 chief directors immediately, just this month of September, to go and study for capacity building and return in a few weeks. 18 chief directors. 18 chief directors. So, Dr. Agredako, you see that President Mahama didn't abandon your head of civil service role. You received full support. So, the question that I've been asking myself is that if President Mahama achieved all this in just 4 days, 2 days in Japan, 2 days in Singapore, and you are going to spend 4 years, do you have an excuse? Do you really have an excuse to come back home empty-handed? As for you, you don't win for Ghana, no agreement for Ghana, no increase in scholarships, no increase in trade volumes, no PJCC. We don't see any support for the present priority areas, 24-hour economy, a big push, Women's Development Bank. Madam Vice President is here. And you want us to keep you at post and be commending you and be saluting you and for you to be enjoying all the privileges and courtesies, as you call them, which you deserve to reflect. And it starts from me. So because I've been really, people think I'm only excited that President Mahama achieved all that, but I've also been quite petrified, because if your boss can achieve this in 4 days, then you as minister and your ambassadors, you really have no excuse. You have to make sure that you deliver. So President Mahama, as I conclude, has instructed that you don't give people KPIs, new targets, without looking at their conditions of service. So I'm happy to announce to you today what you have been waiting for a long time. President Mahama has given us the approval, and this morning I signed your new foreign service regulations. So you now have enhanced conditions of service. And we've introduced even new allowances. We now have KPI allowance sector. It happens in the private sector. So we need to, because it shouldn't be everybody's receiving the same, whether you deliver or not. That will not be motivating. So we've worked on that. Then I came to this ministry and noticed that a lot of the missions have not been commemorating a national day. Others are here 6 years. We are saying that has to stop. It's now compulsory under the foreign service regulations. And we've introduced a new allowance for that, a new allowance for the National Day. So even if funding doesn't come from the budget, at least you have an allowance as head of care, at least to host a decent reception, have an art exhibition, culture exhibition, and let Ghanaians see, let the international community see what Ghana is made up of. So we've introduced a novelty too for those who are posted to the hardship missions. And Mr. President, we have hardship missions here. We've classified them for good diplomatic reasons. I will not mention the countries, but I don't want to start any conflict. But when you get the documents, you see the classification. And we've introduced a very creative system where those who agree to go 2 years, you can put in a request to be cross-posted. And President Mahama gave us full approval to do that. So you can be cross-posted and home leaves, visit home, unlike the others who are in the other posts. And it will be fully paid for by the ministry. It is at the ministry's cost. And then we also introduce an insurance package. If you are in a war zone, for example, we should have an insurance package. If something happens to you, at least your wife and children should be in the knowledge that they'll be catered for. So these are very, very good reforms that we got the President's blessings to outline. And we've also enhanced the education grant. The education grant I came to meet for 3 children was atrocious, atrocious. And it doesn't even pay the fees of 1 child. So when we discussed with the president, he says, please go ahead, increase it. And they are going to do one that I know you've been waiting for. President Mahama has granted executive approval for the vehicle duty allowance. So the vehicle duty allowance is going to be restored. But there's a caveat, it's only for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yeah. So we don't want others to start agitating and to put sand in our gari. So the principle is clear as we give people more. My final slide, our charge is to assist President Mahama, the man on a mission, as the Singaporean president said, the man on a mission to achieve his vision for resetting Ghana. I have no doubt that colleagues here, you have the gravitas, you have the expertise, you have the love for country, the patriotism, you have the know-how to help the president achieve his vision. And I have no doubt that we will succeed together and the Ghana ship will remain afloat and we shall conquer the world together as we have always done. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Let's put our hands together. And as we rise, the Foreign Affairs Minister, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto of Blakwa, gets a standing ovation. And it goes without saying that the standing ovation started from here. The ambassador, because the good news is plenty for them. But let's put our hands together for the Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister. Once again, yes, there was a lot of good news, but also a charge to keep as well. That in the midst of it all, there will be an IGP who will make sure that you deliver. So that also must be clearly stated. And a quick reminder, we're live on TV3, Joy News, UTV, Wazo, GTV. This is news that is going across the world. So the world is already aware of what our foreign envoys have been charged to do. Kind can see the details given by the Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister. Round of applause again. Thank you very much. From a celebrated economist and leadership expert on contemporary leadership principles for impactful diplomacy under the Reset Agenda. Please help me make welcome Dr. Ishmael Evans Yamson. Let's put our hands together.
Your Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, Your Excellency, the King, Your Excellency, senior ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Minister was so excited that he has taken 10 minutes of my time. And that I have just been told that instead of 20 minutes, I should speak for 10 minutes. Well, if you have come through what I have come through, this is not uncommon. It's happening to me at Ada, and it's happening to me today. But I'll try. I must say, one of my most admired ministers. I did not hesitate to reset agenda. This country can only succeed if it is reset. The second reason why I accepted to speak was that even though we have some of the best talent in our diplomatic establishment, we have not leveraged that capacity in the past many years. The Chinese have a proverb. They say, you must be condemned to live in interesting times. And indeed, the world is condemned today in living in very interesting times. We are living in very disruptive times of transformation, driven by geopolitical shifts, genetics, biotechnology and nanotechnology, climate shifts, pandemics, mass population shifts across continents, increasing wars, and human disruption and destruction. All these are redefining the rules of engagement between nations and within regions. And what is happening is not just a change, it is a major disruption, which is completely changing the world in all its aspects. That demands new thinking, and above all, a new style of leadership in diplomacy. In Ghana, we have on many occasions in the past made campaign promises for change, such as Ghana Beyond Aid, which was powerful as a vision, but stillborn, poor and highly indebted. Hopefully, the current reset agenda, strategic imperative, backed by a deep commitment to build a Ghana that we all want. And we have already seen examples set by the president in just 4 days. Now, Honorable Minister, please allow me to share what I consider to be some of the most essential to go through. But my time is short, only 10 minutes. So I'll focus on only 5. The first principle is start with why. Start with why. Why did the president select and appoint you as Ghana's envoy to that country and no other country? And why did you accept the appointment? You must take time to answer these why questions. Only when you have answered these questions and deeply reflected on their impact and what they mean to you, will you clearly appreciate the responsibility you are about to execute. Since I discovered these why questions, I can in any role as a leader. Understanding why you are in any role will come with a purpose for that role. No leader succeeds if he or she does not have a clear purpose for which that role has been taken. Leadership with purpose has become the single most crucial factor for success because it is driven by results and outcomes. It is in a diplomatic role, it aims not just at dialogue but at results. Whether in agreements, trade deals, climate action, security arrangement, that transforms situations or in conflicts with purpose to help reset Ghana. Polarity, technological disruptions, climate crisis, and many more, and future-facing skills. And with China now the biggest economy in the world and increasingly assertive, diplomats must have the skills to navigate complexity with agility and manage multi-aligned relationships. This will require cultivation and adaptability. You must be able to anticipate and evaluate situations, identify courses of action, commit to what works, and pivot away from what does not work. This will help you to craft resilient responses in a world disrupted by many conflicting shifts and multiple futures. Your ability to anticipate the future with agility will help you better manage emerging disruptions with successful adaptability and accountability. Skills you will constantly need to succeed in a world full of uncertainties and disruptions. I must mention here that to be able to respond to any emerging disruption with agility will require a clearly defined decision-making framework that provides guidelines for responding to any development. It should clearly define who owns the process of making that decision, who initiates action, who should be consulted, and who must make the final decision. If every decision must require authority from Accra, often from people who may not necessarily have the authority to take the decision, it will cause costly delays. Our envoys must clearly know what authority they can exercise, whether in a disturbing situation or not, and what they are limit effective. Honorable Minister, at the core of the research agenda is to build a resilient, fast-growing, prosperous country, creating wealth for widespread benefit for all citizens. The main driver of this fast-growing economy is going to be greater private sector participation in the economy. Accordingly, the third principle must be prioritize economic statecraft acumen. Diplomacy is now inseparable from economics. And diplomatic leaders need deep literacy and skills in areas beyond traditional diplomacy. Knowledge in digital diplomacy, for instance, is no longer an option. From cybersecurity to intelligence to artificial intelligence, diplomatic leaders must be fluent in tools that shape today's world. You will only succeed in your engagement with the private sector if you speak their language and you understand what motivates them. Today, Ghana is seen as a high-risk investment proposition because of our inconsistent economic performance over many years. Not ODA, not debt. Our diplomatic leaders must be the frontline officers in your countries of accreditation, engaging investors with deep pockets and who are proposing two-country visits to Japan and Singapore. At home, you must spend time to engage your regulatory institutions to make investing in Ghana less onerous. You must persuade the GRPC, for instance, to promote investments in alignment with their mandate and stop behaving as if it is just a regulator. You must also engage the Minister of Trade, Agribusiness, and Industry to facilitate investing in Ghana, whether by foreigners or local entrepreneurs, and our government to ensure sustained resilient economy to make long-term risk-taking in Ghana an attractive proposition. It is a tall order, but there is no other way. The research agenda will not succeed without serious private sector investment in the economy. And here I must encourage the Honorable Minister and his leadership in Accra to offer their full support in engaging all these different government agencies to facilitate the work of our envoys. If we have accepted the challenge of resetting promise, and let me sound a word of caution here. When you go out there to pursue investments, please do so. You should make Ghana's interest paramount over your own personal interest, so that together we can accelerate the growth and transformation of the economy. Additionally, today's diplomatic leaders also need economic and geo-economic expertise, analyzing supply chains, evaluating the impact of subsidies and rising tariffs, and responding to other disruptive trade practices in a world which is fast deglobalizing, thanks to the current American administration, negotiation, and multilateral engagement, as well as coalition building. To cultivate these skills, diplomatic training programs should emphasize interdisciplinary education. Diplomats of the future will not just represent states, they will design ecosystems. And in a world where AI drafts treaties, climate crisis and conflicts abound, refugees are constantly crossing borders, and cyber conflicts and attacks simmer, success hinges on the leader's ability to orchestrate coherence from chaos with appropriate deep skills. The fourth principle I want to build on is build trust in a low-trust world. Build trust in a low-trust world. In a fragmented world where mistrust and suspicions reign, and trust has become a mere, we require our diplomats to appreciate the need for empathy and cultural agility. And this goes beyond mere cultural sensitivity. It is the ability to understand the world from the perspective of a counterpart whose history, values and behaviors, culture, political, how they do it, and even if you do not agree with them, being sensitive to their peculiarities will help you to build trust. While on building trust, let me add that one way of achieving this is building a network that power is diffuse. A diplomatic leader must engage not only with state officials, but also with multilateral corporations, investors, and influential individuals. Building and mobilizing these diverse networks will be key to achieving the objectives that can drive the reset agenda back at home. While at the same time, you build strong and long-lasting, mutually beneficial relationships in your country of accreditation. The last principle, Your Honorable Minister, that I want to emphasize is be aware of personal attributes that drive diplomatic leadership success in a contemporary world full of uncertainties. These personal attributes must include team building, calmness, resilience, principle, credibility, and focus, attributes which will be paramount in your role, especially as you will be navigating constant disruptions and uncertainties. With the pace of change too fast for any one person to be an expert on everything, you need to build a team to help you respond to challenges as they emerge. The best leaders are those who sadly, I've once been to a Ghana mission where the High Commissioner did not speak to his deputy. The deputy did not speak to the head of administration, and the military attaché felt a complete outsider. Such a dysfunctional team could never be useful to Ghana and would not be a good fit in the current reset agenda. You are credible and focused when facing difficult challenges. As a chairman of two very large local multinational companies, I can confirm that in our current world, there's never a day without a major, potentially disruptive development. It is in such situations that the personal attributes I have mentioned above will help you make informed and effective decisions for the benefit of Ghana. Never rush into taking any decision without deep reflection. And more importantly, let the benefit of your knowledge of applied history help you. The last personal attribute I must mention before I conclude is humility. Today, humility is at the core of leadership. The only certainty in the world today is uncertainty. Therefore, leaders must be humble to listen to others, even in areas where they have deep expertise. It helps a leader to expand their understanding of issues. Good leaders talk less and listen more, not because they do not know, but because they want to know more. And you must learn to listen to those who you even think are opposed to your ideas. By doing so, you'll be able to understand what motivates them, and that should give you the opportunity to build trust with them. Like a chief executive of a corporate body, your life is going to be full of making choices, and you can only make the best choices if you avail yourself of all the ideas that will help you to make those best choices. Honorable Minister, newly appointed envoys, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, impactful diplomacy is also contemporary. If we must reset our country and rebuild its economy, enhance our international standing, especially our ECOWAS economies, reconcile adversaries, and unite peoples across our boundaries. As we face the complex challenges of our time, the rapid disruptive technological revolution, climate change, growing economic inequality, pandemics, wars, and widespread insecurity, The call is for diplomacy that is bold, inclusive, and transformative. Ghanaian diplomats must embrace diplomacy of impact, one that speaks not only for government, but for the aspirations of all our people. Let us, therefore, reaffirm our commitment to a diplomacy that does not merely exist, but one that matters. For it is through impactful diplomacy that we can reset Ghana and together build a Ghanaian economy that we all want and can be proud of. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishmael Yamson. Start with the why. Strategic foresight, visionary thinking, prioritizing economic state as part of diplomacy, build trust in a low trust world, be aware of personal attributes for your success as a diplomat. Please, let's put our hands together for him once again. Thank you very much. And shortly, we'll be hearing from His Excellency the President, who is our special guest. But before that, it will be heralded by some music by the Envoys. Again, for just 2 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Together. Thank you very much, the Envoys. And as Dr. Ishmael Yamson stated, the reset must start from the mindset. Reset. And the man who is leading this charge is our special guest of honor, the President of the Republic of Ghana. Please, shall we rise as we make welcome His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. as he gives us the address.
Thank you. Kindly be seated. Thank you very much. Let me acknowledge a few personalities. Her Excellency the Vice President, Professor Jenna Naopo-Kwajimai, and also our Royal Majesty King Takite Kochuru II, the Gamanche, and then also our Honorable Foreign Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, and then our members of parliament and ministers of state, members of the foreign service, and indeed, let me just say, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, of our departed colleagues, especially Dr. Omani Boama, who was a member of the Ministerial Advisory Council for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And so if you please rise and just observe a minute's silence. May their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. You, the envoys who are dispatching, and the 7 envoys who have joined us, are going to be among the most prepared envoys we've ever dispatched in the history of Ghana. Because I've been looking through your course topics. For those of you who don't have this, it details all the things you're going to be taking through and all the people who are going to grant those lectures. And the resource persons are among the best minds we have in this country, and the topics are very well chosen. My uncle Ishmael Yamson just gave you a very good talk, and in his talk he touched on geopolitics, the current geopolitics, and there are several things he said that you should take away. He said the only certainty in this world today is uncertainty. Today, we had the Second World War, and after the Second World War, we created the United Nations, and we had a Cold War. Now, the Cold War created a very predictable world because the superpowers had enough nuclear weapons to destroy this world 100 times over. And so they themselves realized that nobody will survive a nuclear war. And so it made the world predictable because nobody will start a nuclear war because you can't win it. And then the cold curtain fell, and we entered a unipolar world and the era of globalization. By unipolar world means that America was just the greatest and all the other superpowers had been diminished. Today's world is more uncertain because there are regional powers, the world is changing, and we don't know where all that is going to end. We have different power groupings that are developing. The BRICS have gone on their own. You have the US on its own. And the US is a strange cup of tea because it is quarreling with its allies. The US has always been strong because of NATO and their alliance with Europe. But now Europe are realizing that can we depend on the US, going forward? So it's created a whole, uncertain atmosphere. And that's what you're going into as ambassadors. And so you must take that at the back of your minds. And then he also said that the reset agenda must be accompanied by a reset of our minds. That is a mindset, to change our mindsets. And I think that's true because looking at our experience in Japan and Singapore, those countries have achieved a good reset for themselves. Japan was destroyed by the World War, but today Japan is one of the, first-class countries in the world. Singapore gained independence 8 years after us in Ghana. Lee Kuan Yew actually visited Ghana twice, in 1964 and in 1966. And today Singapore has gone from third world to first world. One of the things I noticed is the discipline of their people, their attitudes, and most of all, their value system. They have become modern first world countries without losing their values. Their values are still their traditional values of honesty, of cleanliness, of discipline, and all that. Unfortunately, in most of Africa, we think that modernization is adopting other values of other people. And so our values of cleanliness, we are abandoning. I remember when we were growing up as children, early in the morning at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., you know, they'll wake us up with our mothers and things, and we'll take brooms and sweep around the whole house and gather all the litter. Today, who cares? You know, we had value system of honesty. People could trust you in any transaction and know that you would deliver. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There's a lot of mistrust. You cannot trust anybody, you know, to honor a transaction. Was they accepted that we should send a team from our parks and gardens to show them how to create, you know, an enabling environment in our cities. And so that's one of the offers they gave, that we should send our parks and gardens to come and visit their botanical garden and to see how they keep their cities in an environment that encourages people to want to come in and visit. And so those are some of the things that we need to look at. But I think that, above all, it is catching them from when they are young. Maybe for us, the adults, we are set in our ways, and it's too late to redeem us. But if you look at countries like Singapore and Japan, they inculcate these values in the children from when they are teach the child the way it should go, and when they grow, they will not depart from it. I think that is what they do. They inculcate these values in the young people. For some of us, we got some of those values inculcated in us, because I remember when we were growing up, we were taught responsible citizenship and courtesy. I mean, I know that I shouldn't go and sit at a table and be eating and belching, or what do you call it, burping. And I noticed that for ambassadors, there's etiquette here. They're going to teach you that when the queen invites you to, or the king invites you to dinner, you don't go, That's why I say you're going to be amongst the most prepared people, because there's etiquette in this book. And there's so many things. You know, I'm impressed with the curriculum for this orientation. Bevlo Latte is going to give you the situation in the Sahel region, so that you understand the basis of the conflict and violence, extremism. You're going to have training on media. You're going to have training on personal and document security. That is important. How to handle confidential documents and all that. You're going to have that. Ambassador Yao Bimpong is giving that lecture. Dr. Kospio Gabra is giving a lecture on economic diplomacy. And everybody knows the pedigree of Dr. Kospio Gabra. You have a paper on Ghana's strategic interests vis-a-vis South-South cooperation, Asian Tigers, BRICS, and others. And so I believe that you're going to be equipped with everything that you need to be able to give a good account of yourselves. And so, King Takite Kochuru, for the comprehensive statement he made. Indeed, after his statement, I wonder if I need to. He had everything contained in there. And so you can take my statement as remarks. and we've already had the keynote address by His Royal Highness. And so from the days of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who envisioned a united and influential Africa, Ghana has sought not merely to participate in global affairs, but to shape them. And that legacy now rests upon you as our distinguished ambassadors, high commissioners, and envoys. In today's world, Ghana's place will not be handed to us. It must be earned and defended through our choices and our work. And so this gathering today affirms a simple truth. The future of our republic depends in no small measure on how you effectively carry Ghana's name and interest into the world. The theme of this year's conference, Harnessing the Dividends of Diplomacy for Ghana's Reset Agenda, reminds us that diplomacy, technology for our innovators, dignity for our citizens abroad, and prosperity for all. When Ghanaians entrusted us with their mandate in December 2024, they did so during an economic crisis and a period of diminished trust in our governance. Out of this challenge, we introduced the Reset Agenda, which is a comprehensive blueprint to restore hope, rebuild trust, and rekindle prosperity. At the core of the Reset Agenda lies the imperative of work, dignified, meaningful, and sustainable employment. And so initiatives such as the 24-hour economy, the Women's Development Bank, the Agri-Reset Program, and youth apprenticeship schemes are all currently underway. And yet their success depends on the partnerships you cultivate abroad, the capital, the technology, the markets, and the knowledge we attract. The distinction between foreign and domestic policy has become increasingly blurred in today's interconnected world. The agreements you secure in Brussels, Beijing, or Washington will reverberate in Tamale, Kumasi, Ho, and Accra. For this reason, economic diplomacy is now the cornerstone of Ghana's foreign policy. Our missions must evolve into hubs of economic engagement, facilitating trade, attracting investments, and promoting innovation. I therefore charge you to promote investments in Ghana infrastructure and tourism. I charge you to expand our export markets, especially for value-added goods, such as processed cocoa, shea butter, textiles, crafts, and digital services. I charge you to mobilize our diaspora not only as remitters of money, but also as investors, innovators, and partners in Ghana's development. Your success is going to be measured not by ceremony or protocol, but by the scale of investment, trade, and opportunities you help secure for the people of Ghana. The Reset Agenda is also about governance, rebuilding public trust through transparency and accountability. And so as our representatives abroad, you must embody these values. The missions must be managed with integrity, efficiency, and professionalism. Our citizens abroad must experience fairness and respect for our diplomacy's credibility. Our missions must be managed with integrity, efficiency, and professionalism. Our citizens abroad must experience fairness and respect. Ghana's diplomacy must continue to stand firmly in Pan-Africanism. At ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations, we must remain a principled voice for justice, fairness, and peace in the world. Our government will continue to champion the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement with headquarters in Accra, because this will serve as a foundation for Africa's industrialization. We'll champion the establishment of African financial institutions to secure our sovereignty, and the AU's Agenda 2063 for a peaceful, prosperous, and integrated Africa. We must also confront our most significant existential challenge, and that is climate change. Climate change is not an abstract for Africa and for Ghana. Our farmers face erratic rainfall, coastal communities are losing their homes from tidal waves, and our forests and rivers are threatened by bushfires. And this is why climate diplomacy is also at the heart of our foreign policy. We'll continue to advocate for climate finance fair carbon markets, technology transfer, and climate-smart agriculture. Ghana must be projected as a leader in renewable energy sustainability. It is our people. Education, skills, and technology remain central to the reset agenda. As Envoys, you must secure scholarships and training opportunities for our young people. You must forge academic and research linkages between institutions of higher learning abroad and our universities and training colleges in Ghana. You must attract technology and new innovation partnerships between our countries and the host countries where you serve. In doing so, you will help our youth to compete in the industries of the future. For too long, success in diplomacy was measured by the pomp and ceremony. Today, that has changed. This conference marks the launch of key performance indicators for heads of mission. These KPIs will track 8 areas, and the first is economic diplomacy, the second is consular services, the third is diaspora engagements, the fourth is financial management. Mission aligns with national priorities and delivers measurable results. And so this marks a new era, foreign service that is transparent, accountable, and judged by outcomes. Ambassadorial appointments are no longer posts for retirees. You are required to establish bridgeheads in your countries of posting to create opportunities for Ghanaian businesses and at the same time facilitate the flow of trade and investment into Ghana. Distinguished envoys, your appointment is both an honor and a solemn duty. Tell Ghana's story with confidence, not as a nation constrained by challenges, but as a people defined by resilience, creativity, and determination. And so, it is now my singular honor to declare open the 2025 Conference of Heads of Missions and Orientation Program for newly appointed envoys of Ghana, and to formally launch the key performance indicators for our head of missions. May God bless you in your service and bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. I thank you.
Thank you.
Should I open it?
After you present.
So this is the KPI.
Yes. Okay.
It's in
It's in a box, yeah. Okay. They say they want a feminine touch. Okay. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
So the front is.
So this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
it is my privilege to launch a performance indicators for heads of mission.
Yeah, they'll give it to you. Yeah. So Vice, come here.
Wonderful. The Vice President, Professor Nana Jeno Pokwajiman, will join His Excellency the President. Shall we all rise? And His Royal Majesty as well. Thank you very much. As the President indicated, this is your Bible. I heard somebody shout, "Hey," when the thing was taken out. That thing is big, oh. Anyway, and also Dr. Evans Agredako. Join them. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency the President and the Vice President will take leave of us. His Royal Majesty will take leave of us as well. And while we will go downstairs, all of us, please remain seated as we have the national anthem as the President exits. Thank you very much. Shall we all rise as they...
So with all I will and might forevermore, and help us to resist oppressors with all I will and might forevermore.
Thank you very much. I'll kindly ask that we all